And I just need to shut that window. Right. Welcome to the stream. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Sunday. First things first, I just wanted to give my sincere condolences to Uncle Claude. I know your wife's not been well for a long time and you've stood by her side all throughout. We don't know each other in real life, but I know you from here, as do many people. And I've always thought you were a beautiful gentleman and just a really great human being. And so I know you're going through a difficult time. If there's anything anyone can do to help, just reach out and we'll make sure we, endeavour to help. So yeah, that was quite sad news. So I was really sorry to hear that. I'm going to start by playing a song. So it may get edited out of the video, but hi, how you doing, me and mines? I wanted to start with this song because I feel like with everything that's going on in the world, this is a very positive, it's a roots reggae track from the 70s. This song was actually playing when 14 black teenagers were murdered in a fire 40 years ago. Well, 44 years ago. And I think it's very indicative of what's going on today. So it's Wailing Souls. It's called Kingdoms Rise, Kingdoms Fall. So we're going to play a bit of this. We will be talking about Elon Musk. We will be talking about Donald Trump. And we'll be talking, if I've got time, about the UK Labour Party, who are in power. So it opens with economics has got them in desperation. It's a modern famine. And inflation is holding on strong, strong, strong. Good morning, Angela T. White. I'm starting out with a song. We're doing Wailing Souls, Kingdom Rise, Kingdom Fall. The lyrics to which I will put on the screen at some point, hopefully, if I can find them. But it's very indicative. Roots reggae from the 70s is my jam. And especially the rebel music, False rulers. We know them. It's a modern famine. Speaking about human rights, it's a modern famine. Yet we deal with your dishonesty. And the people, they still can't walk the street at night. Yeah, I can't play too much because you know how YouTube do. But yeah, it's a great song, Angela. It's one of my favourites. Yeah. I have been playing some roots reggae all weekend. I haven't been online much. But I have been playing a lot of music. I wasn't feeling too good yesterday, actually. I had a really dodgy tummy. I think I got a virus. I was reading some old stuff, that had been written about Trump and before he was, president and that. Looking at, his business dealings and what kind of businessman he was. Hey, Street, how you doing? We started out with some roots reggae today. We're getting into it. So yeah, I was very interested because I've always known that he was not a great businessman. I've talked to people who've actually done business with Trump, and he's not any different to how he is at the minute. He's a bully. He just does like crazy stuff. He just breaks stuff, a bit like Elon Musk. He breaks stuff, and then But with Trump, it's a bit different. And let me see. I made some notes, so I'm going to come off the chat for a minute while I go through my notes. So there's a guy called David K. Johnston, and he's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist from Rochester Institute of Technology. He's written an array of books on Donald Trump. He probably knows Donald Trump better than anybody. And one of the things we've been seeing Trump doing is signing like rafts and rafts of executive orders without even reading it. You can tell he doesn't know what he's signing. He's just signing. And I am going to go into that in depth, what I think is going on there. But I just wanted to talk a bit about Trump generally before he got into office, because he's no different in office than he was in business. And what people don't really realise is Donald Trump is a terrible manager. He presents himself as a businessman, but what he's only ever really done is extracted cash from businesses. So with one exception, a very small exception, he's never had any money invested, not his own money, in businesses. He'll borrow the money to buy a casino or whatever, and then he takes a multi-million-dollar fee off the top, which gives him a negative investment. And then he drives all the managers absolutely bonkers because he keeps interfering in the business in a very non-business-like way. And so once the business is run into the ground and collapsed and no longer valid, he'd say, well, I'm an absolute genius because I got out of the market. And so that's the kind of man we're dealing with. And he's an appalling negotiator as well. Do you remember he has a book called The Art of the Deal? I don't know if you remember that. But yeah, he had a book called The Art of the Deal, and it was written by a fella called Tony Schwartz. And when he was making the deal for Tony Schwartz to write the book, typically a ghostwriter would earn about $50,000 for a book like that back in the day. And Tony Schwartz said to Trump, I want half the royalties. And Trump just went, yeah, okay. He's an absolute terrible negotiator. Nobody else would have agreed to that deal except him. And I think this kind of information, knowing this, which is what David K. Johnston wrote about him, and he's a very, as you can imagine, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. He actually, shows you where he's getting this information from. And, he's very, very good. His sources are credible. And so I think it gives us a bit of an insight into why Donald Trump is making outrageous claims, why he's acting the way he is, why he's letting Elon Musk do all these very questionable things. In fact, I've started calling him Elon Musk because he's a felon. But yeah, I think when it comes to like the Gaza Strip, Donald Trump's just basically made himself a war criminal if he does this, because it's it's amoral, completely amoral to try, to say, well, I'm going to I'm going to unsettle an entire population of a country because I want to build some condos there. Plus, for a person who doesn't really believe in like immigration and that. Hi MB, how you doing, gorgeous? Displace that was the word I was looking for. To displace an entire population on the basis you want to make some condos in their country is outrageous. I mean, completely outrageous. And he isn't keen on immigrants coming to America unless he's marrying them or doing business dealings with them like Elon. He's not keen on that. So why is it all right for Palestinians to be immigrants in all these other countries? It's an absolute mind fuck. I'm going to swear. It's Sunday. I shouldn't be swearing. Sorry, Jesus. But it is totally a mind fuck. None of it makes sense. Nothing works in my idea of, you know, what he's speaking on. When he was talking about the tariffs on Mexico and also Canada, you know, that's actually breaking a lot of contracts you've made with them. You're in NAFTA, the North America Free Trade Association, which is a trading bloc, a bit like the EU, a bit like the BRICS nations and all that. Well, exactly like that. That's what they are. And so it's actually shooting Elon in the foot, because like a lot of components for cars are made abroad. So the manufacturing is made in different countries, and a lot of it is done in Mexico and Canada. And then the assembly plants are in the US. So you're getting rid of a lot of car jobs, because if you start taxing 15% onto an industry that's already struggling, that's going to cripple a lot of people. You're going to lose a lot of jobs. But I heard somewhere that he has backtracked and overturned that. And I'm not surprised, because I'd imagine every government economist was jumping out of their skin at the idea. Not only that, there's more to it. So here's my theory on Trump and his dealings with the nation. So there's a few things going on. So what I would like you to look at is how much stuff is done, how much he's actually doing. He seems to be doing the most, and Elon Musk, and they're moving very, very quickly, right? Why are they doing so much so quickly? Well, we know about the 180-day playbook from Project 2025. We know that's in there. You can go and read it. In fact, it was available months and months and months before there was ever an election. So he's not doing anything particular. Well, he's doing some things, but he's not doing that much more than he already said he was going to do. We could have known about this, which, you know, some people did, because they'd read Project 2025, and a lot of them were pretty alarmed. But I think a lot of people thought that was propaganda. So, and it's a big document. So, like, most people have not got the leisure time or luxury of sitting down and reading something that big. I don't have kids, and pretty much my job involves reading huge documents like that. So I'm used to doing it. So I can kind of get through them pretty quick. But if you're not used to reading those kind of documents, they can be pretty hard going. They're not exactly an easy, light read. But anyway, it's just that's what I do for a job. So I've been doing that for 40 years. It's dead easy for me. But I know not everybody. If I gave that to any member of my family who doesn't do that kind of thing, I know they'd struggle with it. Anyway, so there's a sociologist called Jennifer Walter. And she had some theories. And I have to say, I agree with her 100%. And I've already kind of thought about a bit of this, what she was saying, because about, I don't know how old it is now, probably about 10 years old. There was a lady called Naomi Klein, and she wrote a book called Shock Doctrine. She also wrote No Logo and different things. But her book, The Shock Doctrine, it's about aggressive capitalist democracies in inverted commas. So like we've seen, in the first 2 weeks, we'd seen well over 200 executive orders being filed. Yeah. That really exemplifies what Naomi was talking about in her book, The Shock Doctrine. So what it is, you basically use chaos and crisis, shock and awe, if you like, to kind of push through radical changes, because what it does is it disorientates people, and they're far too disorientated to do any sort of effective resistance to what you're doing. It's not just politics as usual, it's an actual strategy. So it's just like there's so much going on. Nobody can kind of get their head around it. And then there's another guy called McLuhan. He's been around for ages. And I don't know if it's true, but I think, Gil Scott-Heron's song, the revolution will not be televised. I think it comes from McLuhan. if I remember rightly. And he's a media theorist, and I think he was around in the 50s and the 60s, but what he says still stands up. And he predicted that when humans face information overload, they become passive and disengaged. Rapid fire executive orders are going to create a kind of cognitive bottleneck where like people can't really get their head around what's going on, and it makes it nearly impossible for the media and citizens to thoroughly analyze because there's just too much of it. So you can't effectively look at what's happening because there's so much going on. So like particularly the media will lock onto things like the trans issue because they know it's going to spark a conversation. Meanwhile, there's issues of things that are going through that they won't talk about because they're not as sexy for their publications demands, for their readership. So people are going to talk about something like banning trans women in sports, or that kind of thing. They're going to look at that and talk about that, but they might not be interested in some of the economic policies unless you're reading the Wall Street Journal, for instance, or something like that. But even then, even nowadays, I've noticed over the last sort of 20 years that publications like the Wall Street Journal, like the UK Financial Times and things like that, they've started doing a lot more kind of what I would call alarmist media, sensationalism. So they've started doing a lot more of that, and I think it's because of our the way we consume news now is really changed, and like a lot of it we only read headlines, which is terrible because it tells you nothing. People write headlines to grab an eye, and they're very sensational, and often when you read down they're quite misleading. So I would say if you're going to talk about a headline, you need to read the text. And it's this overwhelmingness again. Trump's trying to overwhelm people, including the media, analysts and the public, with just doing too much. And then the third thing is something called agenda setting theory. And I can't remember where agenda setting theory comes from off the top of my head, if I'm honest. But basically, the strategy is when multiple major policies compete for attention simultaneously, it, like we were just discussing, it fragments public discourse. So traditional media just can't keep up with the pace, and it leads to very superficial coverage. The result of that is a weakened democratic oversight and reduced public engagement. So then what do you do about all of that? Well, you pick 2 or 3 key issues that really matter to you and make a difference in your life, and you have to focus your attention there because you cannot look everywhere. You can't track everything. Hi, all the smoke, how you doing, gorgeous? You just can't track everything. That's done by design. If according to those 3 theories, and if we look at it, I think we can say that's pretty much what's going on. So impact comes from sustained focus, not scattered awareness. So I think it's really important as citizens that when our government's acting up, like I think your government and our government are acting up right now, the key thing to do is work out what really matters to you and put all your focus there. 2 or 3 key issues, because you can't possibly, do think about everything that is going on. It's too much happening. Use aggregators and experts, and that means find trusted analysts who do the heavy lifting of the synthesis of ideas. They've gone out and they've done the research. They've pulled it all together. So depending on what your subject is, depends what you're going to do. I mean, Maida's Touch is a channel on YouTube, and I often post stuff from them. I follow them, and I found out of them last year from Ronnie Q, actually. And they're now the #1 podcast on YouTube. The #1 channel on YouTube. They overtook Joe Rogan. I don't think he was very happy about it. But that just shows, and they're if you've not seen them, they are they're lawyers basically, and political analysts, and they are constantly updating us on what's going on, and people need to know. And I think people are becoming politically engaged, but I think at the moment because of how crazy everything is. But I think at the moment people are struggling to go, well, there's so much going on, it's kind of confusing. I'm scared they're going to disengage. So it's useful to use people like that. I listen to Times Radio a lot, which is the UK Times and Financial Times. It's their radio, and they're on YouTube. They have a really good channel. They have some of the foremost experts in the world. I listen to people like Richard Wolff, different people who are absolute experts in their field and will give you good commentary and explain things to me. I like to be explained. Even though I studied politics and economics and philosophy and geography as well, even though I did those things, I still like people to explain it in a basic way so that I don't get caught up in, a mix-up over words and stuff. I like it explained to me as if I'm a 5-year-old. And I think if you can't explain it like that a child can understand it, then you don't really know what you're talking about. So they're going to look at all the patterns and the event, and not just the events, but the patterns that are happening, and they're going to explain it to you. And I think they're really worth following. Even if you only watch 1 or 2 things during the week, it'll still have you really well informed, and then you can make good decisions for you and your family, or me and mine's. Feeling overwhelmed is kind of the point of this. That's what he's trying to do. And I don't think it's Trump, because I don't think he's clever enough to put this plan together. I think it's the people behind him. And if you look at who's the authors of Project 2025, there's some very clever people there. They're all very rich and they're all very powerful. And there's some very good academics there. Now, I say they're very good academics. They are. I don't agree with their overall ideology, but they are good at what they do, and that's why they've put this plan together, and it is very clever. It is. It's definitely not Trump's work. That's why you just see him signing stuff and he hasn't got an idea what he's doing. And he talks word salad at these press interviews because he's just had talking points and that's it. I don't think he even knows what's going on at this point. So when you recognise you're feeling overwhelmed by the politics, just take a break. It's a process. This guy's in for the next 4 years unless he gets impeached or something drastic happens. And people are starting to talk about impeachment, by the way. The guy who proposed he'd be impeached last time, I can't remember his name, he's the guy from Texas, black guy. He's one of the senators there. He's the same one who's trying to get him impeached again. He's speaking on it. And it's to do with the Gaza Strip comments, because basically if he does that, he's a war criminal. Not that he'd recognise it, because America and UK are not in the International Criminal Court. And in fact, Trump's just put sanctions on anyone who works at the International Criminal Court. If they come into America, well, they can't come in. That's the gig. They'll get turned away at the airport. TSA will have to turn them away. Practice going slow. Wait 48 hours before reacting to a new policy. Urgent clouds the important. Initial reporting often misses context. So you're going to want to look at the backlog. So over the next 2 days, something happens and it's like, oh my God, what's happening? This affects me really badly. Take 2 days and read around it. Listen to as much stuff as you can. And then it will give you more context and you'll be able to do something about it. And then the most important part of this is to build community. Share the load. I'm a radical. I've always took radical action politically, and I don't intend to stop anytime soon. I know they say it's for young people. I don't give a damn. I'm not fighting Nazis in the street like I was when I was 17. When I used to literally go and line up with the anti-Nazi league, and when Nazis were marching, they'd come and fight us and we'd get a licking. I don't do that anymore. I don't kick tear gas back to police anymore. That's not what I'm doing. I'm 50. I ain't got the capacity for that. But I am going to build community. I am going to help people take action themselves. I think we're going to have to help a lot of people, because I think going forward, Elon Musk, I've had from a really good source that he's actually got the information now from the welfare. So anyone who's on welfare, I've forgotten what it's called in America. But anyway, I've had from a really reliable source that he's actually got everyone's information already. And you know that a man who prioritises taking, he's a multi-billionaire, the richest man in the world, and his priority was to take money off the poorest people in the world. Less than 1% of, your payments, much less than 1% went to US aid. And to be honest, aid often travels with a bomb. So I think, the third world will be breathing a sigh of relief mostly. And let us not forget, I've told you before, Burkina Faso, the poorest country in the world, has paid its entire national debt this week. Or it might have been last week now. But they've paid the entire debt. All of it. All the millions, billions, pounds, whatever. They've paid it. They are the first debt-free nation in the world. 100%. And they've done that by taking control of their resources for the benefit of the public. I don't think that's happening here. I think what you're going to find is your Section 8 is going to be taken away. I think you're going to find if you become unemployed, there's no safety net for you. Your maternity pay has always been a disgrace. I mean, I didn't realise that you don't get maternity leave. I don't know if that's changed because I've never looked into it. But I remember talking to a pregnant lady who was, I think we were at the theatre or something. We were just talking. I said, "Oh, when's your baby due?" And we were talking. She told me that there was no maternity leave. I went, "What?" Because in the UK you get about 6 months off if you're pregnant, paid, fully paid. And if you want to take a bit longer, you can take that, but it's only on like half pay or something. So, and even daddies get paternity pay, paid leave for paternity pay. So I was shocked to realise that you don't have anything like that in America. I thought that was atrocious. But yeah, so, you're going to lose a lot of benefits and people are going to lose their Medicare. And, it's going to be awful. There's going to be a lot of people really suffering. And I don't think they realise what's coming on the whole. Some people will, but I don't think a lot of people are aware of the pain that's coming their way. And not only that, I did a show not long ago where I gave you some statistics. And this is the first generation where kids are poorer than their parents in America. We're in our third generation of that in the UK because remember our empire ended in the 50s and you took over being the chief empire in the world. And for anyone who doesn't think America is an empire, you're very wrong. Okay, and I'll maybe do a different show on that. But often I get called a colonialist because I'm British. But America has its colonies too. But I just keep, listen, it doesn't bother me because it's just, it is what it is. And Britain pink was our colour on the political map. And we literally covered pretty much the whole world. I think 3/4 of the planet was coloured pink in the political atlases of old. So I think that's the plan. I think that's what's going on. I've told you what I think you should do about it. And that's coming from me, who isn't a community organiser and political activist, as well as a person who works very closely with the law and politics. So, my job pretty much revolves around that. So I do get involved in stuff. I don't want to labour it too much, what's going on, but I did want you to know what's happening with Trump. I did want you to know what's happening with Musk. Today there has been, what's her name? The Supreme Court has made some decisions today. I'm going to be reading up on that, probably report back to you tomorrow, because I've only heard kind of headlines about it, so I'm not that tuned into what actually happened. I know it came out in the public favour and not in Donald Trump's favour. Excuse me, sniffing. Haven't got any tissues. Oh, I have. Here we go. I think the thing is, what we're seeing is people who are working in a fantasy land. And Elon Musk is quite honestly I've got bipolar disorder and I've never seen anyone continually hypermanic as this man. He has put beds in every office he's ever had. I mean, he's just going around. They're not doing anything lawful. They're going around breaking the Constitution, and there is a limit, don't forget, as well, to executive orders. So it has to, there's so many of them being signed. They all need to be checked, because if they're not in line with the Constitution or existing laws, they don't really count. So I would postulate that quite a few of them are just there as a smokescreen to create chaos and confusion, as I discussed earlier. That's my feeling. Yeah, so I think I might close down my live. I'll drop the link. I don't know as there's many people in here, and I don't know as any of you really come up who has spoken today, because you don't usually hit links. I just want to say also, I did go to James Caldwell's last night for a short time, and I'd heard about some stuff Miss Olivia had been speaking on about lesbian women, which I was horrified at what she said. I felt like she was backpedaling a bit on James's, but then I didn't go over to hers and hear what she had to say, because I don't go there. Number one, I'm not welcome there because I'm a white colonizer, so I'm not really welcomed at Miss Olivia's. And then, of course, I don't really like people who are very hateful, and I find that she's got quite a hateful streak in her towards a lot of people. It's not just white colonizers, it's also the the gay community and so on and so forth, and I'm not down with that. I don't really care what people call me, quite honestly. I know who I am, and that's fine. I don't like being lied about, though, and she does a lot of lying, and that's what more annoyed me with her, was the lying. And again, with someone else, I was more uptight about her because of the lying. If it was read me for the facts of my life and I don't give a damn, go for it. But when you start lying and making shit up, I can't respect you. So I don't deal with people I can't respect, number one. But I really like a lady, Miss Bernadette, respectfully, Em. She's such a classy woman, and I love my Benzone, another really chill, cool person. And there's a lot of lesbians in the sector who I like. There's a few I'm not that keen on, but it's like any community. You're not going to like everybody 100%, but there's a lot of really nice lesbians. And even the ones I'm not that keen on, they did nothing, nothing massive. I just don't like some of their vibe or, stuff like that. So I haven't really got a big problem with anyone anyway. It's just like some people I don't listen to and some people I do, and that's all it is. But I don't like the hateful stuff, and I don't like the lying, and I feel like, you can't just make stuff up about people and then call them dirt because of it. It's like this business, when they were doing Haitians eat cats. I don't know if you've noticed, there's nowhere in the world that eats bloody cats, not really. You know why? Even people who hunt lions and things, they never eat lion meat. Why do you think that is? Because it probably tastes vile, is why. So Haitians don't even eat cat in Haiti, so that was bollocks. Anyway, I'm ranting. But the point of that was to dehumanise with lies. And that's what the Germans did to the Jews in the First World War. They said they ate babies, they were descended from rats and all sorts of things, anything to dehumanise them. And people did it with Africans because they wanted to enslave them. So they needed to make them feel, the rest of the population to feel like, well, they're not really human, they're animals, so it doesn't matter. And this is what people do. And so dehumanising and lying on people is absolutely disgraceful. There's no need for it whatsoever. In fact, quite the opposite. I feel like if you do that, that should be a crime. Now, where was I at? Yeah, so I just wanted to let the lesbians of the the internet where I reside, let them know, listen, I stand with you. That should never have been said about you, and I don't believe the bullshit either. And I don't think a lot of people do. James had a really good town hall meeting, though. It was interesting. I feel like Brian kind of needed that. him and Jay are in a bit of a funny place at the moment because of what happened on this channel the other day. So there's a bit of, antagonism between the pair of them, and that continues actually on James's, which was a shame, I felt like. But yeah, I feel like Brian's actually probably a really sweet guy, and I think he gets frustrated and angry really easily because of, he calls them his demons, and I don't think he means it literally as a demon, but he might, because of the religious issue of being a Jehovah's Witness. I have known people who grew up in Jehovah's Witness religion who've had some issues because of, being told things like that. He's not the only one. So, it can be quite debilitating mentally to people to be indoctrinated, to be told that they're inhuman or demons or whatever. And also what came up was the issue about child abuse. It's a subject that, I've spoke on a few times. I don't think child abuse will make you change sexuality. I think it can make you transactional in your sexual relationships. So you might end up selling your body. I'm not saying everyone who's abused does. Some people withdraw. Some people get on with life absolutely beautifully with no problems. Everyone's different. But I have known people who've been abused in the sex industry. And like I said, it seemed like every single girl who came into the project was like a victim of sexual abuse as a child, which I found shocking. It really brought it home to me. For the mothers out there, I do want to let you know that I was listening to a guy who's an ethical hacker, and I might use a clip of it just to warn some parents about some dangers which I had no idea existed, but you might already know. Roblox. It's really popular. My nieces are on it, the little ones. And even Grandma even gave them some vouchers. I think it was Google Play or something for Christmas, so they could do more Roblox. What I didn't know was they have like little chat rooms, a bit like, like the older kids go on Xbox and they can talk to anybody pretty much in the world on there. Well, the same happens on Roblox, and there's some quite small children on Roblox, but these chat rooms, he actually catches PDF files. Yeah, he actually tries to catch them and expose them. He's only a young guy, but I think he's been through a lot, and he's a very, very clever young man. And he was talking about these chat rooms, and he demonstrated live that all he did was he put in a girl's name, said he was from New Jersey, said he was 13, I think, or 11. I can't remember the age, but it was like either 11 or 13. And within 30 seconds, PDF files were in messaging her, talking to her. And the one guy was quite, he was quite shocking, because he was like in his 40s, and he like told her straight, "Oh, I'm 45 or whatever. Is that a problem?" Talking to a 13-year-old or an 11-year-old girl. And this guy said, this is what happens. You go on, and if they see a young girl in the chat, they immediately start inboxing her. Obviously, there were other guys. There was like a 17-year-old, even that's a bit old. But, and there were some people who were saying they were teenagers. The thing is, we don't even know if they're telling the truth, because people can lie and pretend they're anything online. But the point is, there were these old men in these chats speaking to young girls. For what? For a conversation. Why do you want to have a conversation with a small girl? I think we all know what the purpose of them being there is. It stands to reason. I doubt he's in there talking about the games or anything like that, because why wouldn't he talk to someone his own age? Or if he's slightly immature, like maybe someone in their 30s or something. But to talk to a 13-year-old girl, and you're a 45-year-old man in a private chat room made for teenagers, and it was a teen chat room, is disgusting. What are you doing? Anyway, I will try and find that video because it is a video, and I think it's the Sean Davey Way show that I saw him on. He has some really good guests too. This guy runs something called, oh God, what's it called? Pentest.com. And pentest.com, it tells you if you've been hacked, or if your website's being hacked, or if your photos are being used online without you knowing about it. Sorry, that's my phone. So he runs pentest.com. It's a really interesting site, especially if you've got a business. If you've got a business, definitely look at it. It's a really cheap way of doing cybersecurity to a high level. Anyway, with that, nobody's come up for a chat. I'm feeling lonely. My phone's going mad. So I am going to close it down. But I'm going to play you out with my thing.